Hi everyone, my name's Michelle and I'm Mama Loves You GB here on FlossTube, but also over on Instagram and Etsy as well. This is the Sunday morning briefing. This is FlossTube number 76 and it's the 12th of June. And it's been a very long time since I've known both of those things. It's only because I literally just looked them up. So it is Saturday night here. I always film on a Saturday night and it's probably 9:45 at night and it is still light outside. It's absolutely glorious. I love these really long nights, and being right over in the west, we keep the sunlight for the longest of everybody in the UK. So, well, maybe not Northern Ireland, but mainland UK. Right, so I've got so much to share with you today. I have 2 FFOs, and again, it's been a very long time since I've had actual FFOs, finished objects. Now, if you remember from last week, I was planning to get 3 things finished. Well, I finished 2 out of the 3. And actually finished them off. So my 3 things that I was hoping to finish were Cherry Jubilee, Susanna Eckles, and also my little chubby bird. So I finished 2 out of the 3 of those and FFO'd them. The other one I actually haven't even worked on, so you'll have to wait and see what that is. I've got 1 thing that I've restarted. I've got quite a bit of haul to show you. Quite a few patterns from one specific thing that I bought. I got quite a few patterns for that. I've got another little bit of haul as well because I went over to my favourite little vintage shop over in Newcastle Emlyn today, and I got a couple of bits from there. So let's get cracking. I'm going to show you my first FFO because it's just behind me here. So this is my first FFO. So this is Chubby Bird. Let's try and get him up the right way. And as I'd said to you, Christina from Whilst Iris Naps had inspired me to look for jars which have indentations on the lid. So I literally just finished Chubby Bird, which I'd stitched on 32 count Heroic from Picture This Plus, so you can see some of the pink and a little bit of the blue. And I just put a little bit of kind of crazy pom-poms on there and some little puntini pins. Now, other than the colours on this bird, there is nothing as charted. I'm not sure there's a single stitch on there that's in quite the right place. It was a git. It was an absolute git. From being so small, you would have thought, or I would have thought, nice quick easy stitch. It was a nice quick stitch, but I just kept getting it wrong. And then I kind of got with a whole cavalier attitude about, well, I'll just finish it, it'll be fine. And it is fine, it looks good. But yeah, it wasn't simple. So there, if I take the lid off, you'll be able to see. So there are my little puntini pins, and there's my chubby little bird, and then this canister has got some of my vintage little cotton reels in it, and this is from Sainsbury's. It's the Habitat range at Sainsbury's. So I've now got this nice big canister for all of my bits and pieces. Pop it there. So yeah, on 32 count it fitted just nicely into the top of that container. Right, my next FFO. So it's either going to be Cherry Jubilee or it's going to be Susanna Eckles. And it is Susanna Eckles. I couldn't just leave her. I had to get her finished. So let me just remind you, this is Susanna Eckles. This is the original Susanna Eckles, and she stitched in 1853 when Susanna was 8. So we've got this beautiful kind of tulip bowl of flowers there, and then kind of stylized bowl of fruit, this crazy peacock, a little brown bird, and some other little samplers. Little sampler motifs, and as I've shown you before, when she stitched it, she actually joined piece to make her stitch correct. Now this is the frame which I showed you last week, which kind of jumped at me. So I take the random piece of backboard that I saved off. As you can hear, the glass isn't terribly well in. So this, square her up, there we go. That is pretty much how she came to me, and I absolutely love this rosewood frame. It looks amazing. So I charted her and I've stitched her, and this is what she looks like today. Now I need to just get her sitting straight in her frame, because she's got an antique frame that I actually picked up today. So I would have thought that I would have been coming to you tonight with one FFO and one finish, but I saw this frame in an antique shop in Newcastle Emlyn, not my favourite one but another one, and I was like, I think that will fit, and it is perfect. So the only thing, as I said, she doesn't have a backboard at the moment, so I'm just holding her in place. So she could do with coming down just a fraction. I've wobbled her now. There we go. She's not perfect. There's a little bit more at the top and bottom than there is at the side, but for having the antique frame, I will forgive that. I'm happy to make that that little concession. So there she is. Now she's stitched on 30 count Weeks Dye Works Cocoa. I always want to call it something else, but it is Weeks Dye Works Cocoa. And she's not actually at 30 count. She is not a million miles away in size from the original. Now this cocoa actually is looking much paler than it actually is. It is darker when you see it from a distance. So let's have a look. She's stitched in DMC apart from a couple of threads. Okay, I'm going to start that little bit again, because it would seem that I couldn't remember them quite as well as I thought. So let's go through them properly. So they're all DMC except for Weeks Dye Works Bark, which is like a green to brown, which is used in the stems. The Gentle Art Caramel Corn, which is mostly the kind of browny creamy colour. Caramel corn's a really good description for it. The hardest colour of all to match ended up being Classic Colourworks Brown Sugar. That was really hard to match. And then the last one is Hickory Sticks. So those are the ones which are the fancy flosses. Everything else is DMC. So let me show you where they are. See, I told you she's not put in properly yet. So most of this here is the caramel corn. The bark are in the leaves here with a DMC, and the hard one to match, which I've forgotten the name already, Brown Sugar, is this one here. And the last one, which was the Hickory Sticks, is her writing and the little bird and the little line there. So let me just give you her once more with the original. So I am hoping to release her very soon, in the next few days. I need to finish writing up what I know about her, which is really very little and is really quite tenuous, as I said to you before, and really depends on whether she spelt her own name right, whether her name's been recorded correctly in the census, all of that sort of thing. So I'll tell you the little bit that I do know, but it really isn't very much. And then she will be going into my Etsy shop. She will also be going, and I've been chatting with Jean about this, into the attic. So you will be able to buy a paper copy from the attic if you so wish. So I would imagine if you would like to purchase threads and fabrics, they will do their normal magic and provide you with all of those things as well. So I'm super, super excited. So if you haven't already favorited my Etsy shop and you want to stitch Susanna, go ahead and do that, and then you'll be first to know as soon as she comes out. And I really can't wait. I've loved stitching her so much. She's been fabulous. Now, I had scribbled some notes onto the bottom of her pattern because for the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been meaning to update you about some FlossTubers that I've been watching, and I've just forgotten. Every time I've literally turned off the camera and gone, oh, not again. So, FlossTubers that I've been watching. Julie, Kansas City girl from a Colorado world. She's had some great episodes out recently, and she's just done a whip parade, which is a good couple of hours long. So if you want to get a load of stitching done, she goes through all her whips, and there are some fantastic ones in there. You'll love it. Started to watch NBC Stitcher today. Been watching a couple of his programs, really enjoying. Nikki Noodle, daft as always, fantastic to watch, love listening to her stories. Crafty Stitchers, they've just celebrated their 1-year anniversary, and so they did an episode showing all their whips, and again with them it's always just a really, really good laugh. Amy Loves Toads, so I've been watching Amy Loves Toads. She's recently done a kit parade, the ones that she's got to stitch and the ones that she's stitching, and she's done a fairly recent FlossTube update as well. Lynn the Lancashire Stitcher, I've been catching up with her. Sambury Stitches Becca, I'm so upset for Becca because she's not been able to go to StitchCon because she's got COVID, the dreaded COVID, and so yeah, I really feel for her, and there's a couple of others as well who've gone down with COVID when they should be going to StitchCon, and that's just so cruel. I feel so bad. Debbie from Creatively Yours, Lisa Smith, Kindred Stitcher, and a special shout out to Lauren from Flossabilities, who has been doing full coverage, 3 of these beautiful Chris Dunn full coverage patterns all through this last year, and she's got 2 of them completely finished, and she's just on the last little bit of her last one, and it just looks incredible. And she did a fantastic episode where she was showing you what she's going to do next, what her next rotation is going to be. Now, I've been living my full coverage vicariously through her and a few other people quite recently, and then there's been a lot of stitchers showing things like their kits that they have, and so I was starting to look at my kits and my full coverage kits, and I was thinking I really need to give that another go, and so I have had another go at one of my full coverage kits, and the one that I picked out was this one. Now let me see if I can just find the front cover. Here it is. It's by Luca S, and it's this one. Now, I just absolutely loved that when I saw it. Really, really loved it. And it came as a kit with everything that was needed to stitch. And it came with 18 count Ada. So this is where it's gonna probably really wash out. It came with 18 count Ada, and that's where I'd got to before. And you were using 2 strands on 18 count. And because I like to stitch in hand, I just thought mine looked terrible. It just looked really bobbly and all uneven and terrible. Now, I've used 2 strands on 36 count basically quite a lot, and it looks fine. But this one, I didn't like it. I was a bit disheartened. So I was looking on a few stitchy websites, and I found that you can get 20 count pre-gridded. Now, I'm not sure if you've always been able to get 20 count, but you can now. Maybe I'm misremembering. And so I decided to start using one strand in the bottom corner this time, because I've already sort of been up and done the top corner a little bit, so I thought I'd decide to start in the bottom corner, get some different colours going, and that's where I am. Now it's quite a strong light in here, and so it is sort of bleaching it out just a little bit, but I'm quite happy with the coverage with one strand, even on the darker colours, and I can stitch it in hand and it doesn't look terrible. So I'm going to carry on with that for a little bit, because I think also when it comes time to wash it, it will close down just a little bit more. So that there is about halfway across the bottom, so it's not going to be massive, but I think that's going to be enough for me to actually see whether I am a full coverage stitcher or not, because it's not in Pattern Keeper. I do have Pattern Keeper for some things, but this isn't in Pattern Keeper, so I've just been eyeballing it and I haven't been crossing anything off, so I think I'm going to need to actually photocopy my chart and cross stuff off, otherwise I can see it going rapidly south. But that was the other thing. I think that's the only other thing that I've stitched on this week, because Susanna took just a little bit longer than I thought she was going to do actually. There's a bit more stitching in her. Right, where's my list? What else have I got on my list? I am insulting my list more frequently because, as I said, every time I've come off I've gone, oh, I've forgotten something. The other thing I've been forgetting to tell you, Carolina Cross Stitcher, her husband makes lots and lots of wooden items, and she recently contacted me and asked me for the dimensions for the spools, which way am I going? That way. The spools for the Puntini charts, and I know her husband's been making other size spools as well. So if you fancy a spool, go and have a look and see if they've got one that will fit. If not, give them a contact and I'm sure they can make you something. Now, the other thing that I was asked about, and again I've forgotten to ask this the last 2 or 3 weeks, I had a comment and I can't for the life of me find it, but I think it was on one of my FlossTubes. A lady in the UK was looking to see whether anybody was doing any exchanges in the UK. So for those of you who are not sure, an exchange is where you make a small and then you gift it, you send it in the post and somebody sends you something back. And periodically there are groups that do exchanges, and sometimes it can be quite hard to find out about them unless you're in that particular group. So she asked me if I knew of any exchanges that were happening, and I don't off the top of my head. So if anybody does, and she did want specifically to stick within the UK just to avoid the postage costs, if anybody does, can you just comment below and hopefully she'll see it as well, or I'll go back and I'll find her comment and I'll make her aware of ones that we are have been mentioning. So that's all for that particular list. I've got one other thing that I'm going to share with you off that list, something that I've been reading or listening to, but I'll do that right at the end in case you're not that fussed. So a freebie. This one comes from the Blue Flower. So if you're looking for something nice and bright and meaningful to stitch, you may well cast your eyes on this. So this is for June 2022, which is obviously Pride Month, and you've got love with the rainbow flag there. I think it's lovely, and I think it was Lakeside Needlecraft, and if it's not I'll put it down below, but I think it was Lakeside Needlecraft who have released charts for all of the various different flags, so if you want to get a certain flag, then if you go on to Lakeside Needlecraft, then you can find the flags there. So there we go. I'll put the link down for that as well. Now, haul. I have got a few things of haul. I stopped by the Nimble Thimble, as in their website rather than in person, although I am dying to go up and see Chris and see how she's getting on. but I picked these up. This one, in fact, all three of these were like, oh, I've got to have them. This one, ugh. Do you know what, that's all my day has been about today. Putting things in piles, things falling off piles. I stitch and I've got the arm of the chair, and everything I've put on the arm of the chair has just slipped off the side. And so at some point I'm going to have to go digging down that side to find all sorts of things that I've lost. So this is the Blue Flower Animal Alphabet. And I love it on that green colour. So it looks like you've got an armadillo, a bat, a cheetah, a dragonfly, a bird beginning with E, a fennec fox, a goose, a hare, an ibis, a jellyfish, a koi. You have to work out what that one beginning with E is. I can't see that one. M is a mammoth, N is a narwhal. I've missed out L purposely because I don't know what that is either. O is an owl, P is a puffin, Q I would imagine is a quail, although it looks a bit fancy for a quail to me. R for robin, S for seahorse, T for tiger, U for a goat looking thing, V for, I think it's a vicuña, only because I saw them in South America, W for woodpecker, X for, well, that looks like a seagull to me, but if you talk to my partner, there is no such thing as a seagull. It's a herring gull or a black-headed gull or a greater black-backed gull. There is no such thing as a seagull. Y, I'm not sure what that is either. Or Z, do I get a list? Ah, it's on the back. Right, is that an emu? That's an emu. Right, I'm going to go for it properly now. Armadillo, bat, cheetah, dragonfly, emu, fennec fox, goose, hare, ibex. That's not an ibex. An ibex has got a mammal with big horns. That's an ibis. Jellyfish, koi, lyrebird, mammoth, narwhal, owl, puffin, quetzal. There we go, it's not a quail. Robin, seahorse, tiger, uriel, vicuña, woodpecker, zimi, zabi, yabby and a zorro. Oh, yes. Okay, yabby. If you ever watched Neighbours, which has just come into an end, they always talked about Yabby Creek. So that makes sense. But yeah, that's definitely not an ibex. That's an ibis. But anyway, I still can't wait to do it. And I did wonder whether Fox and Rabbit's fabric of the month may just do the job. In fact, I'm going to put those two back together. You wouldn't know I've got a zoology degree, would you? Now this was my other one that was a complete, oh, got to have that one. This is by Tiny Modernist and it's called Night's Time Owl. And it's charted in DMC. And I think I'm going to stitch on the same colour as my pumpkin gardener, which sort of sits just here, and that is Weeks Dye Works Dolphin. And I might just finish in a hoop because I've got very few hoop finishes. Let me put that back in there and I'll show you that in a minute. And then I got this one as well, which has been out for a little while, but I wanted to grab it. Silver Creek Samplers Flying Lessons. I won't take that one out of the plastic because I think everyone's probably seen that one by now. I'm late to the party on that one. And then from Peakside Needleworks, my Bald Eagle, which is part of the Year in the Woods stitch along. So this is the second one on the green. The bear was the first one. Now, my other purchase, and I purchased this a couple of weeks ago, but I've just taken a bit of time to go through it, was the Gift of Stitching magazine. Now I think there's 72 issues that they are selling as a digital download, and it was something like $30 or $29.95, and they had it on a 30% discount. And I've looked at it before, but I looked at it a little bit more closely this time, and I basically thought to myself, well, if I'm getting 30% off, I'm looking at paying about $22, something like that. So provided I can find 2 or 3 charts that I really like, then that is going to be worth the money. Well, I found a lot more than that. I've printed some of them out. I've not printed all of them out. I've just printed some of them out. And there's one actually, which is a chessboard, which I have printed again, and I've left it downstairs. So I'm going to put that one up there. And I think it's called the Queen's Bestiary, but I can't remember the designer because I haven't got it in front of me. But I'll put that along the bottom, and that's a lovely, lovely chart. So there's a few by the Prairie Schooler, just nice little Christmas ones. So there's that one. Now these may have appeared somewhere else since, but they're all together in this magazine. There's that one. There is, I'm just going to go through them in the order I've got them here. This one here, now I'm not a massive fan of black work, I think. I've never done any, but I think I'm not a massive fan of it because I don't really like backstitch. But that caught my attention, and it doesn't look too difficult. So maybe I'll give that a go. This one, The Red Folk Angel by Brooke Nolan. I thought that was lovely. Nice fun for the Christmas tree. There's a mixture of some Christmas things, some samplery things, some, there's all sorts of stuff in there. All sorts of stuff in there. Because as I said, it was a magazine that had, I think, it was monthly for a time, and then I think it went bi-monthly before it finished. So there's all different seasons, all different things. Now this one I really did like. It's called Tropical Quaker Sampler by Waldechamps of WDC Designs. Now it's stitched, or not stitched, think Michelle, the fabric key, charted, there we go, get there in a minute, in hand-dyed fibres by Vicky Clayton. So I know you can get those again, but whether the colours are quite the same as they were, but you could definitely just look at the picture and pick out your colours based on that. And I just really like the fact that it's nice and bright. You could definitely do it as a monochrome, definitely, but I do think that Tropical Quaker is really nice. These are very appropriate. This is again by the Prairie Schooler. These are Ukrainian Eggs. I thought they were lovely. This one I've printed out as well. It's called Woodland Vines by Ink Circles, and I know I'd saved another Ink Circles one as well. Now if I stitch that, I definitely mount it on my wall like that. I've got a thing about having some diagonal things or some diamond shaped things on my wall. Is that, yeah. Another little Prairie Schooler one. In fact, I think I've got 2 here. Just fold those because these have got the chart on the bottom of the page. So there's this one, which is called Christmas Eve Dear. That'd be a lovely stitch to do. And this one is Autumn Pin Keep. Things are not playing ball today. Autumn Pin Keep. And this one is called Autumn Meeting by Marie Le Gou. Sorry, I've probably butchered that totally. But it's a lovely design. It almost reminds me of the Snowflower Diaries. Now whether that designer is the same designer, I don't know. But it definitely puts me in mind of that type of pattern, which I love. And then this is the last one that I've printed. This is called Willy's Quaker Square. And again, this is another one that if I stitched it, I'd probably hang it so it was diagonal. Just for giggles. So there's that. And then I've got 2 more things to show you which I picked up from my favourite vintage shop in Newcastle on Tyne. But I just want to tell you, no, I'll save that to the end in case you're not worried. I'm recapping. So I picked this up, which, as you can see, I've just been chucking all my things that I've gone through with you in there. So let's take those out. Which I thought was a lovely, lovely trug. Now, I think it's one that their carpenter has made up. I don't think it's got any age to it, but he's done a really, really nice job on it, and I thought that would look fabulous, filled with pillows and cushions and little pin keeps and things like that. And it was £25, which I thought was a real bargain. So nice and big. And I picked that up as well. It's just a little glass dish, but I thought how cute would that be with a little pin cushion in the top. Now the other thing that I picked up was, as you can see, I've got a thing about ladders. This is a really long ladder that's mounted horizontally on my wall, and I use it as a shelf. So I picked up a short ladder. Now, it's a really nice little ladder because it's really narrow. It is, oops, I want to go that way, don't I? It is really a narrow little ladder. Now, I've managed to get this from Newcastle on Tyne out the back of the car and up the stairs into here without him seeing. Mainly because I'm not ready to answer the question, what are you going to do with that? I'm not ready for that level of questioning. I'm still in the I love it stage. Now, ideally what I'd like to do is to sort of mount it on the wall and hang lovely quilts and things on it. And then I remember I've never made a lovely quilt. I don't know, I've done the topper for a quilt, but that is it. So that's not really going to pass domestic customs as a rule. Not that we really have domestic customs. You know, it's my money, I've earned it, I'll spend it. But yeah, I need to come up with something plausible as to what I'm going to do with it. But I did think it was a beautiful little ladder. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So the last thing that I was going to share with you, and if you're not interested in books or, well, I say books, I've listened to it on Audible, mainly because it's a book that talks about stitching and needlework, and I really wanted to be able to do stitching and needlework while I listened to it. And it's called Embroidering Her Truth by Claire Hunter, and it's about Mary Queen of Scots and about her sort of journey, her life that's been told through her embroidery. And it's been fantastic. It's been really, really good to listen to. And now I've got a little bit of a dilemma, because perhaps if you've got the book, you'll be able to tell me. Is it worth me buying a copy of the book as well? Are there fantastic illustrations and pictures in the middle that I need to see to go alongside it? I think there might be. I think there might be. And if there are, then I will definitely grab the book as well. But it just told the story of her life and her embroidery and her relationship with Bess of Hardwick, and Bess of Hardwick was a real needle worker as well, and it was just a fantastic, fantastic book. So if you get the chance to get the book or get the Audible download, then I would really recommend that you do. The book's written by Claire Hunter, and it's narrated by a Scottish lady who I'm not entirely sure isn't Claire Hunter, but I will check and I will put across the bottom. But it's a really lovely kind of brogue to listen to. It's really, really very calming to listen to. So I've listened to it a lot in the car. So it's been brilliant. Right, I'm going to love you and leave you. I will see you next week. Stay classy, Stitchers.